Are there any other questions? Yes. This is the Hilltop Reporter, Howard
Yes,
University newspaper.
Thank you. I'm from Sudan, and I left Sudan in 1982. And when I left, I never heard of slavery taking place. This issue, of course, concerned me as a human being, as a Muslim, and a Sudanese. And I agree with Mr. McKeen about making it an all Sudanese discussion. But the singling out of the northern Sudanese being starting this slavery thing, to me is a little misleading, because if it exists, then there is some cooperation from the people who are enslaved themselves. Like even in the old time, during the early time of the slavery in the 1700s, the slaves were not simply captured by the Europeans. They were made slave by the cooperation of the slave themselves. The same thing in Sudan. It's not only the northern Sudanese. I'm not trying to defend them. I'm just trying to be objective. That when you say northern Sudanese are doing slavery in Sudan, well, I have yet to be convinced that it really exists today, and people buy people for money and for other material things. But also you have to remember that the discussion should be also focused on those who participate, whether they're from the north or from the south, whether they're black or they're white or light skinned. In Sudan, it should be a Sudanese issue, and as I say, this is a great discussion, but I have a hard time, believing that in 1996 people pay money to buy other human beings.
Thank you, brother. I'm glad that you're from Sudan and you understand the situation very well. I can testify and tell you that I've been to homes in Khartoum and Umdowan Ban and Debeba, where I found slaves in their masters' homes. This, I know them, I talk to them, we ate together. I say, and then I ask them, how long have you been? They say, we were born here. Our fathers were slaves, and we are still for this, as slaves for our masters, their children. So it exists. There's no doubt about it, because I have no point to say a Sudanese enslaves another Sudanese. If I have not seen it myself, and I have not talked to the Sudanese, to the Sudanese slave to a Sudanese. These people, whom we consider as they're our people, they still have that in their mind, that they feel good to own somebody to serve them. We want to stop this. We are all human beings. We have to introduce a new understanding that people could serve themselves, not to be waiting on people to serve them. This is what is going on in Sudan. And they only use the black and the indigenous people for those services. Religiously, you go to the Mahdi house, you find people bowing down to the children of Mahdi and calling them master. Those people who are working there, they work for nothing. They are fed, they're given a place to sleep in, they're clothed, they have no salaries, they have no their account of their own. Their families are fed by the Mahdi because they are slaves. But they are promised, deceived religiously, that if they obey their master, they're going to have a part in the paradise. You go to El Mergan in Khartoum North, you find the same thing. We want to stop this kind of thing. I'm from the north, a Nubian, we consider to be from the north. So we're not saying that every northerner owns slaves. There are people who have the appetite, who feel it. And I have been called myself as a slave. Repeatedly, I have heard this addressed to me. You slave. Because I'm just black. There's no reason. Moreover, before the independence, those who are Arabized, who did not want to identify themselves as Sudanese, because a Sudanese means black and means slave. They call themselves Awlad Balad. We know the language. Awlad Balad means the children of the land. They don't want to accept to be called Sudanese. That time I was in Umdurman. where we used to beat each other with those awlad balad. I have been beaten, and I have also beat some people because I'm black and those are awlad balad. So when we meet, we fight. This is a fact that's going on. It needs a further study and research so that we can end this kind of practices.